What if I told you that trained military pilots, police officers, radar operators, and thousands of ordinary people all reported seeing the same thing? Not in a movie, not in a novel, but in official reports that remain part of the historical record.
Tonight, we're examining 5 of the strongest UFO cases that governments have investigated, and where important questions still remain. Welcome to the UFO Phenomenon Podcast. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Cheryl. Whether you're a skeptic, a believer, or somewhere in between, this episode focuses on documented events, eyewitness testimony, official investigations, and the questions that continue to be debated. We'll clearly distinguish between what is documented, what investigators concluded, and what remains uncertain.
Yep.
For decades, reports of unidentified flying objects have been dismissed, investigated, debated, and more recently, openly discussed by governments around the world.
An important point often gets lost in these conversations. Unidentified doesn't automatically mean extraterrestrial. It simply means investigators could not confidently identify what was observed based on the available evidence.
Tonight we'll look at the 5 cases that have drawn unusual attention because they involved multiple witnesses, official responses, or military documentation.
Our first stop takes us to Belgium in late 1989, where a wave of sightings would capture the attention of the public, police, and the Belgian Air Force.
A colonel at the time was officer in charge of operations.
Some people saw very strange objects in the air with a very peculiar behavior. They called the police. The police confirmed the observation. They called the radar station of Glon. And Glon confirmed that they saw a blip in the area. And that was also confirmed by another radar station, which is about 100 miles away. Based on that, they asked to send these 2 aircraft in the air.
On November 29, 1989, reports began arriving from across Belgium. Witnesses described large, triangular objects moving silently through the night sky.
Many said the craft hovered before moving away at speeds that appeared unusual to them. Some reported bright white lights at the corners and a red light in the center.
As more reports came in over the following months, authorities recognized that this was not an isolated incident.
One reason the Belgian wave stands out is that some law enforcement officers also reported unusual observations.
Their accounts added to public interest because they were trained observers, accustomed to documenting events carefully. Even so, eyewitness testimony alone cannot determine what an object actually was, and investigators considered a range of possible explanations.
As reports continued, the Belgian Air Force became involved. On one occasion, F-16 fighter aircraft were scrambled after radar operators attempted to track unusual targets.
About 2 years, the whole country was affected by a wave of sightings. They'd been seen by witnesses, the police, and by local radar stations. The Belgian army was forced to take the claim seriously. They allowed their F-16 fighter aircraft to be involved in trying to intercept these UFOs. They had the full backing of the chief of the Belgian Air Staff, Colonel de Brouwer.
Initially, we thought that some of these observations were caused by atmospheric interference, such as weather conditions or electromagnetic interference. But later on, we found out that at certain moments, indeed, we could relate one visual observation with one observation on the radar. And of course, then we said, well, to have a confirmation, it may be very useful to have an additional observation from an aircraft.
The aircraft were deployed as part of a routine training program. Most times nothing was seen, except on one particular night.
The night of 30 and 31st March, we had an observation on the radar, and in addition, a visual observation on the ground confirmed by the police. We decided to send 2 airplanes in the air around midnight.
This video of the F-16's radar track of the object showed the performance of a vehicle of a totally unknown origin. The Air Force were at a complete loss to explain their findings. A press conference was called.
What these pilots detected was well outside the normal flying envelope of an airplane. Sometimes they had what we call lock-ons, which gave a parameters varying from speeds between 150 knots till 990 knots.
Public discussions later focused on radar data that appeared difficult to interpret, but analysts have cautioned that radar anomalies can occur for a variety of reasons. The available information has been debated ever since.
Witnesses consistently describe a triangular shape with lights at each corner. Some estimated the object appeared enormous, though estimating size and distance at night is notoriously difficult.
What makes this case memorable is the number of reports received over many months and the attention it received from both public and authorities.
De thuisinformatie linkt tegelijk aan stadsvlinder, dan meest van arbeit.
Zij hebben als bechtem die linten
Vaakste of die architect.
Skeptics have suggested that a combination of aircraft, astronomical objects, misidentifications, and atmospheric conditions could explain many of the sightings.
Others argue that no single explanation accounts for every report. It's important to remember that multiple different phenomena can occur during the same period, meaning a wave of sightings doesn't necessarily have to have one single cause.
Yep. Whether every sighting has a conventional explanation or not, the Belgian UFO Wave remains one of the most discussed European UFO cases because it involved a sustained period of reports, public attention, and official interest.
Decades later, it continues to be cited in discussions about unidentified aerial phenomena.
Mm-hmm. If you think thousands of reports over several months sounds remarkable, our next case involves a single night that left thousands of people across an American state asking the same question.
What just flew over our heads? Next, we travel to Arizona for one of the most famous mass sightings in modern history, the Phoenix Lights.
Right. So our last case took us to Belgium, where months of sightings drew attention of police and the military. Now we travel nearly 5,500 miles west to the deserts of Arizona, where on one spring evening in 1997, thousands of people looked into the sky, and many believe they were witnessing something extraordinary.
Now we're looking at a light that's now appeared again. It's come out in a different place. Definitely far away, South Mountain, There's two of them. There, we finally hit pay dirt. Now we've got two of them in the sky on South Mountain. Figure this one out. There's a double. There's a third one. Hey, Sue? All right, you tell me what it is. Oh, what do we got?
March 13th, 1997. It began as an ordinary Thursday evening. Families were finishing dinner, commuters were driving home. And the skies over Arizona were clear. Then the phone calls started.
Witnesses from communities across the state reported seeing a formation of lights moving slowly and silently across the night sky. Some described the lights as attached to a single, enormous V-shaped object. Others reported seeing a line of lights stretching across the horizon. As the reports spread, local television stations and law enforcement agencies began receiving hundreds of calls.
Chapter into a strange valley encounter.
3 months ago tonight, something strange happened in the skies over Arizona that still hasn't been fully explained. And in reality, we may never know exactly what happened that night. Tonight, first on Fox, we hear from a Phoenix family who may have been closer to whatever it was in the sky, closer than anyone else.
It's getting closer and closer, and we're saying, you know, that thing's coming right at us.
Tim Lee and his family are among the hundreds of witnesses who've come forward to talk about the night of March 13th, an event now known as the Phoenix Lights. The Lees first saw the lights while looking north from their home in the Sunny Slope Mountains.
When it finally got here and we realized this thing was coming right over us, we really started getting antsy, and then when it went directly overhead without a sound, it was like that. It was so big.
You couldn't even hear the wind. It was so quiet. It was just, It just didn't even do anything. It just came through.
These images of what they saw are made on a computer. They're a combination of digital photos of the landscape taken by Lee and computer drawings of the objects his family saw in the sky.
It was a giant V, all right? And the right side of the V went over us. The left side was like a couple blocks over it.
I just didn't know what to do. You know, it was just like, my God, how big is this thing? It didn't seem threatening, but because when it was right overhead and we couldn't hear a sound, it was like you're just awestruck.
Jim Delatoso has been researching UFOs for 20 years. Right now, he's in the middle of putting together a virtual reality model of what happened that night. He's talked to hundreds of witnesses about the night of March 13th, including the Lees.
He thinks that he said if he had a tennis ball, he could have hit it. He could have thrown a tennis ball at it. It was that close.
Descriptions varied, but several themes appeared repeatedly. Many witnesses said the object or objects made little to no audible sound. Some estimated it was enormous, though estimating size at night can be difficult because of the distance to lights was unknown.
Witnesses reported watching the lights travel steadily across the sky before disappearing from view. Others recalled feeling a sense of awe or confusion as they tried to understand what they were seeing.
As reports increased, local media quickly realized this wasn't an isolated observation.
It's in a V shape, maybe a massive ship miles wide, right over Phoenix. Hundreds, maybe thousands of people saw them on March 13th, 1997.
Look at that. There's another one.
They're lined up in a pattern.
Newsrooms received calls from viewers across the region describing similar events. Law enforcement agencies also documented reports from concerned residents. While officials gathered information, speculation spread rapidly. Was this an aircraft? Experimental technology? Something astronomical? Or something else entirely?
One of the most widely discussed explanations involved military flares. The U.S. military acknowledged dropping illumination flares during a training exercise later that evening over a nearby range. Supporters of this explanation point out that the flares descending under parachutes can appear to hover before gradually disappearing as they burn out or move behind terrain.
However, many witnesses have argued that the flares do not account for the earlier reports of a large formation moving across the state. Investigators often separate the events of that night into two phases. One phase involved reports of lights or a formation moving across Arizona. Another involved the later appearance of stationary lights, which many investigators associate with the military flare exercise.
To your left. There's one behind the chimney. One just flared up. I got 4 of them. Major sighting here.
No, I'm on.
Let me see. I could put it.
Maybe you could zero it in on there.
Fireball.
2 of them side by side.
Yeah, it does
Maybe
look
that's
like
why it's so yellow when there's the 2 of them making.
This is the location. This is Steve right here. He's the one who kind of got it. There's Rhonda, pool, puppy. Let's get back to the saucer.
I don't know if I'm tall enough.
You want to lower it?
I need a chair.
I got another spotting scope somewhere here if somebody wants to look into that too. There's 2 side by side. This is slightly different.
There's another one. Oh, look. 1, 2. There's another one.
Wait, where?
There's another one, too.
Where? Oh, look at that.
There's another one.
No, we're just excited. We're not.
They keep coming.
Wait, I see. Whoa, look at.
As multiple events occurred in the same evening, researchers continue to debate whether all reports shared the same explanation.
97. You've got Phoenix, Arizona, March 13th, 1997. You've got a number of objects. One in particular that caught my interest was a boomerang-shaped craft that, according to the witnesses, and everyone was out under the night sky to get a glimpse of Hale-Bopp Comet at the time, so a lot of people saw it, that floated across the state of Arizona roughly around 5 o'clock to 8:30, from north to south. I interviewed families that were lying on their backs. It's all, I have it all documented. Lying on their backs, and they said this thing was so huge it took 4 minutes to pass over our house. It looked like it was going to land.
The Phoenix Light remained one of the most best-known mass UFO sightings in modern history, not because they prove any single conclusion, but because thousands of people reported seeing something unusual over a large geographic area. For some, the military explanation resolves the mystery. For others, important questions remain. The debate continues nearly 3 decades later.
So what do you think? Were the Phoenix Lights simply a combination of military activity and misidentification? Or do you believe some of the reports describe something that still hasn't been fully explained? Let us know in the comments below.
Our next case takes us from the deserts of Arizona to the open Pacific Ocean. This time, the witnesses weren't civilians. They were some of the most highly trained military aviators in the world.
In November of 2004, a routine training mission turned into one of the most discussed military UFO encounters in modern history, the USS Nimitz incident.
The USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group was conducting training operations approximately 100 miles off the coast of San Diego. The group included the aircraft carrier USS Nimitz, the guided missile cruiser USS Princeton, and a number of supporting ships and aircraft. During these exercises, the crew began noticing something unusual on radar.
The USS Princeton had been tracking unusual objects appearing at extremely high altitudes. According to accounts from personnel involved, these objects appeared to descend rapidly from tens of thousands of feet down towards the ocean. The radar operators repeatedly described the objects as behaving unlike conventional aircraft. Instead of following normal flight patterns, the objects appeared to move in ways that caused concern and curiosity.
The Navy sent fighter aircraft from the USS Nimitz to investigate. Among these pilots was Commander David Fravor. What he and his team encountered would become known around the world as the Tic Tac UFO.
In 2004, off the coast of California, an F-18 Super Hornet training exercise was suddenly interrupted by a call over the radio that would come to define Commander David Fravor's career.
You know, there's certain things in your life where you just remember in vivid detail what happened. And that's one of them, because it's honestly the strangest, most obscure thing I've ever seen flying.
Fravor, the commanding officer of the Navy's Strike Fighter Squadron 41, and another F-18 scrambled to check out an unusual radar blip 80 miles off the coast.
So as we're looking around, the backseater in the other airplane comes up and says, "Hey, Skipper, do you see?" And before he says it, I'm like, "Dude, do you see that?" As soon as we look down, we see the whitewater, and then we see this little white Tic Tac. It's pointing north-south, and it's just going forward, back, left, right.
It's just bouncing around?
Yeah, like a ping pong ball.
What was its shape? What was its, what did it look like it was made out of?
Like a perfectly smooth white Tic Tac. Or for people that need a bigger visualization, a giant propane tank.
Fravor says the F-18s began circling, Fravor at 20,000 feet, and the so-called Tic Tac only about 50 feet above the surface of the water.
And I say, "Hey, I'm going to go check this thing out." And the other pilot stays and says, "Hey, I'm going to stay up high." And then it starts coming up at us. We call it two-circle fight, but it's coming up, I'm coming down. So it literally is aware we're there. There's no doubt, because it mirrored me. So here it is. I cut across, and I get to about half mile of it, so I'm about halfway across the circle. As it gets in front of me, it just goes poof, and it's gone. And it's gone like that fast.
What do you mean, poof, it's gone?
I mean exactly that. Like, it's 1 minute it's there, and the next second, it's like magic trick. So I asked the other airplane, I said, "Hey, do you guys see that?" And they're like, "It's gone. It just disappeared."
When you saw this kind of performance, what was the first thing that went through your mind?
What the hell was that?
Once back on the carrier, Fravor's team told the next crew what had happened, and that crew took off ready to capture something on camera. And this is what they saw. I guess the biggest question is, what do you think it is?
I honestly don't know. I don't think that we have developed that technology. I don't think we developed it on this planet. We still, to this day, have no idea what it was, what we saw, what we chased, what we engaged. But it was pretty spectacular.
According to Fravor's account, the object appeared over the ocean near what looked like disturbed water. He described seeing a white object approximately the size of a commercial aircraft, but without wings, engines, or visible signs of propulsion. The object moved in unusual ways, including rapid changes in direction.
The question investigators have debated ever since is simple. What exactly did they see?
One of the most discussed parts of the encounter is the object's reported movement. Fravor and other witnesses described behavior that appeared unusual compared with other unknown aircraft at the time. The object then disappeared from the area. Later, radar operators reported detecting it in a planned meeting location far away.
Years later, infrared footage from Navy aircraft was released publicly. The video, commonly referred to as the Tic Tac video, showed an unidentified object captured by military sensors. The release of the footage changed public discussion about UFOs because it was not simply a witness story. It involved military censors and official confirmation that the footage was authentic.
As with every UFO case, there are different interpretations. Some researchers argue the event could involve sensor limitations, misinterpretation, or advanced but conventional technology. Others argue that the combination of eyewitness testimony, radar reports, and infrared footage makes the case difficult to dismiss.
The Nimitz encounter became a turning point. UFO discussions that were once pushed into the background entered mainstream conversations. The United States government later acknowledged the existence of unidentified aerial phenomena investigations and publicly discussed the need to study unexplained sightings.
The mystery of the Tic Tac encounter is not simply whether someone saw something. The question is, what was it? Was it an advanced aircraft, a misunderstanding of technology and sensors, or something that represents a gap in our understanding of what's possible?
After hearing the details of the Nimitz encounter, what do you think? Is this the strongest UFO case ever documented, or do you believe there are another explanation? Let me know your thoughts.
But the Tic Tac encounter wasn't the only military UFO case caught on camera. Years later, another series of Navy encounters would bring even more attention to unidentified objects in our skies. Next, we'll examine the Gimbal and the Go Fast incidents, two videos that became central to the modern UFO debate. For years, reports of unidentified objects were often based mainly on eyewitness accounts.
But modern military aircraft carry advanced cameras and sensors designed to track objects at extreme distances.
When several Navy videos became publicly available, the conversation changed because people were no longer only debating witness testimony.
They were analyzing recorded data.
The Gimbal video was recorded by a U.S. Navy aircraft during an encounter off the eastern coast of the U.S. in 2015.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is an LNS, dude. Well, if there's look at that thing. It's rotating.
The video shows an object captured by an infrared targeting system. The object appears to move across the sky while the camera tracks it.
One reason the Gimbal video received so much attention was the reaction of the pilots.
Their comments suggest they were observing something they did not immediately recognize. Their confusion became part of the public discussion.
It was starting to get worrisome. They were essentially flying themselves in a formation. And then behind those was the object that you kind of see here. It almost looks like a gyroscope, right? The way it moves, the points coming out of the top of the bottom of what appears to be a disc or at least a central mass on the object. So these objects were proceeding in one direction. The five at some point basically just turned themselves around with some type of radius of turn as a unit and started flying in that direction. At this time is pretty much where you see this video, where these are now out of the picture and it's just this guy that's stationary. So there wasn't a whole fleet of these, there was just all these little guys. And then there was the one object which we had never seen before, which was significantly larger. It's just basic airplane physics. When your wings are underneath you, and you're flying along, you have 100% of your lift. And if you turn yourself all the way like this, kind of knife blading, you have none of the lift that your wings will provide you. So the fact that he would just get himself on his wingtip with no turn by staying at the exact same point is...
If experienced military aviators could not immediately identify what they were seeing, what exactly was it in the sky?
Exactly. The interpretation of Gimbal remains heavily debated. Some researchers argue the object displayed unusual characteristics, including its apparent rotation and movement.
That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is an LNS, dude. Well, if there's look at that thing. It's rotating.
Others have suggested the appearance could be caused by optical effects, infrared sensor behavior, or the movement of the aircraft and camera system itself.
The important distinction is this: the video is real. The debate is over what the object actually was.
Yep. The second Navy video we'll examine is known as the Go Fast. Like Gimbal, it was recorded by a military aircraft and later released publicly.
The video shows an object moving rapidly across the sky.
That could mean they were already there, or they were following the strike group. We're getting ready for a deployment, so we do workups along the eastern seaboard, and these objects kind of came with us. It was basically a cube with inside of sphere, where the points of the cube were touching outside of the sphere. What's fascinating and interesting about these objects is that they're up there when we take off. They're doing their thing for our hour and a half, maybe 2-hour flight, and then we land, and my buddy that takes off an hour later is seeing the same things. It's one thing if one person sees one of these objects, they're like, okay, that's crazy. When you go out there every day, you see them, and your brothers and sisters and other squadrons are seeing them, and it's like, okay, well, this is probably some type of maybe drone thing or something that they're testing out.
At first glance, the video appears to show an object moving at incredible speeds. This led many people to believe it represented technology far beyond current aircraft.
However, analyzing videos like this requires understanding how sensors work. Apparent speed can be affected by altitude, distance, perspective, wind, and camera movement.
Yep.
Echo 6-1 Tango, Roger, over. Oh, got it! Woohoo! Roger, there's troubleshooting. Did you box moving target? No, I took an auto track. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow, look at it fly!
Skeptical researchers have proposed that go fast may involve a smaller object moving through the atmosphere combined with camera effects.
Others argue that even after accounting for those factors, questions remain. Like many UAP cases, the disagreement comes down to interpretation of incomplete information.
The significance of gimbal and go fast is not necessarily that they prove one specific explanation. Their importance comes from the fact that they represent a major shift.
Military pilots reported unusual encounters. Military sensors recorded them. Government agencies acknowledged the footage, and the public was left asking the same question: what are we actually seeing?
No kidding. Our final case takes us back more than 75 years. A small New Mexico town, a crashed object, a military recovery operation, and a mystery that has remained one of the most famous UFO stories in history.
Next, we examine Roswell.
Yeah.
For the past hour, we've looked at cases involving police officers, thousands of witnesses, military pilots, radar operators, and officially released videos.
But our final case takes us back to 1947, a time before smartphones, before the internet, before the world had a word for UFOs.
A small New Mexico town would become connected to one of the most famous mysteries in history, the Roswell incident.
The year was 1947. The United States was entering the early years of the Cold War. The military was developing new technology. Testing aircraft and closely guarding information.
Near Roswell, New Mexico, the Army airfield was home to the 509th Bomb Group, the same unit that had carried out the atomic bomb mission during World War II. I think it was named the Enola Gale.
That's right. Enola Gay.
Enola Gay, yeah.
In early July 1947, rancher William Mac Brazel discovered unusual debris scattered across his property outside Roswell.
Reports described strange materials, including lightweight pieces that witnesses later claimed did not behave like ordinary materials. Brazil eventually brought the discovery to the attention of local authorities.
On July 8, 1947, the Roswell Army Airfield released a statement saying personnel had recovered a flying disc. The headline spread quickly.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
For a brief moment, the world believed the U.S. military had recovered something extraordinary.
Here we go. But the story changed quickly. The military soon announced the recovered material was not a flying disc. Officials stated it was debris from a weather balloon.
Decades later, the Air Force explained that the material was actually connected to a classified program called Project Mogul, which involved high-altitude balloons designed to monitor Soviet nuclear testing.
Lies. The Roswell mystery continued because of later witness accounts. Some former military personnel and civilians claimed the recovered materials were unlike anything they'd ever seen.
78 Major Jesse Marcel, long retired and in ill health, decided to reveal what he claimed was the truth. Jesse was the Army intelligence officer who'd been assigned the job of investigating the crash back in '47. This is an excerpt from an interview done by WWL-TV in New Orleans, Louisiana, one of the few television interviews Marcel granted.
I was amazed as to what I saw. The amount of debris that was scattered over such an area. It took me a while to realize that there's something strange about it. But the more I saw the fragments, the more I realized that it wasn't anything that I was acquainted with. In fact, as it turned out, nobody else was acquainted with it. What it was, I don't know. I still don't know.
Despite the official explanation issued by the Army, Jesse did not believe that what he saw was the wreckage of a weather balloon.
I proved I tried to burn it, it wouldn't burn. I tried to break it, it would not break.
Others claimed there was a larger recovery operation and that the information was hidden from the public. These accounts became a major part of UFO history, although many details remain disputed.
Over the years, some accounts claim the bodies were recovered. Stories became one of the most famous parts of the Roswell legend.
However, no publicly verified physical evidence of extraterrestrial bodies has been produced. The debate continues between those who believe the government explanation is incomplete and those who believe the mystery grew over time through rumor and retelling.
So why has Roswell remained famous for nearly 80 years? Because it represents one of the biggest questions surrounding UFOs. When something unusual happens, how do we separate what is known from what is assumed?
Roswell contains documented events, a debris discovery, a military response, a changing explanation, and a decades of debate.
So tonight we looked at 5 of the most discussed UFO cases in history. The Belgian UFO Wave, the Phoenix Lights, the USS Nimitz Tic Tac encounter, the Gimbal and Go Fast Navy videos, and Roswell.
Each case is different. Some involve eyewitnesses, some involve military personnel, some involve recorded data. But all share one thing. They left questions behind.
The biggest question may not be whether every UFO story is true. The bigger question is this.
How much do we really understand about what is happening in our skies? Are these cases examples of misidentification, secret technology, natural phenomena that we don't fully understand, or something else?
The evidence is there, the questions remain, and the search continues.
And this has been UFO Phenomenon Podcast. Until next time, keep looking up.
Yep.